This morning, a group of high school girls upset by what was left out of this year's yearbook. Each year, the school's group of teen parents are featured in the yearbook along with other clubs and programs. But this year, nothing. And the girls say no one could give them a good reason why.
Well, I felt disrespected in a way. I felt like, they treat us as less than the other students just because we do have babies, and I felt like they excluded us.
So we talked to the district about this. They say it's a misunderstanding, adding the teens can try to request a page in the yearbook next year. For more on this story, download our KRQE News app.
This morning, DA Carrie Brandenburg is off the hook for bribery charges. We first brought you this story on the KRQE News app. APD says Brandenburg offered to repay her son's burglary victims if they didn't press charges against him, and then handed the case over to the AG's office. Yesterday, the AG announced the case was weak and politically motivated, mentioning that APD made the case public as Brandenburg was getting ready to file murder charges against 2 officers.
My staff did independently corroborate with APD officials that there were political considerations, both for the delay of the referral and also in consideration of how they handled the file.
That is the furthest from the truth. The furthest from the truth. We have an obligation to investigate all allegations. It's where the case went.
The AG says Brandenburg still should have known better than to speak to witnesses in her son's case because it didn't look right. This morning, the man who murdered his girlfriend and her nephew starts a life sentence. Brian Pulliam shot Kirsten Landau and her nephew Dylan Searfoss in her Albuquerque home 3 years ago. It happened a day after she broke up with him. Pulliam, a member of the Aryan Brotherhood with a known violent past, pleaded no contest to the double murders last week.
We turn now to this. An actor filming a TV show in New Mexico is facing a DWI charge. Anna Bartley of Longmire was arrested in Santa Fe last month. Here's something interesting. Bartley plays Deputy Ferguson, or the Ferg. The show is based in Wyoming, but is filmed in northern New Mexico. The 4th season will air on Netflix. New Mexico could soon face a doctor shortage. The CEO of the Loveless Women's Hospital tells Albuquerque Business First that doctors here are much older than doctors in other states. In fact, New Mexico doctors are the 2nd oldest in the nation, and many could soon retire. Loveless and other hospitals are trying to recruit new doctors to get ahead of all of those retirements. So it's supposed to be a town center, but Civic Plaza has not been the gathering place the city envisions. A recent grad from Southwest Airlines promised to bring new life to the plaza, though.
There are new tables and chairs there, and now it's time to put them to use with a new series meant to draw people to Civic Plaza. It kicks off today. News 13's Catherine Mazzone has all the details live from Civic Plaza. Catherine?
Good morning, Adam. It's called Abq Food Fridays, and it's geared towards bringing a happy hour feel right here to Civic Plaza.
There's so many people that live and work downtown, but they go elsewhere when Friday afternoon hits.
Leah Black with Marble Brewery says they weren't looking for any more events, but when management group SMG approached the brewery with their idea, Black says they were excited to get on board. So every Friday through the spring and summer, SMG will bring food, music, and beer to the plaza. A different restaurant will be featured each week, and Marble Brewery will offer a rotation of their craft beers. The entree will cost about $10, with drinks and desserts sold separately. Black says it'll be great to work with these local restaurants.
This is ambitious every Friday, but the cool thing that we liked about it is that they're getting amazing restaurants that we've already done beer dinners with before.
Now the event runs from 4 to 8 today. Afterwards, Civic Plaza Presents will debut their movie series. The movie tonight is the Lego Movie. Back to you.
Very interesting, Catherine. Thank you. By the way, this week's featured chef is from Cafe Bien. We'll tell you how Food Fridays could boost business for local eateries coming up in our next half hour. Meantime, happening right now, the investigation into that deadly Philadelphia Amtrak crash continues to focus on the engineer.
Investigators want to know why the train accelerated from 70 miles to more than 100 miles per hour on Tuesday. The engineer has agreed to talk to the NTSB with his attorney present in the next few days. Brendan Bastian told investigators that he has no memory of Tuesday's crash. 8 people died when the train derailed at more than 100 miles an hour.
6:06, let's turn now to a live look from New York City this early hour. Prosecutors say no criminal charges will be brought against another engineer who fell asleep at the controls of a commuter train in 2013. That caused the train to derail and killed 4 people. The NTSB concluded last year that the engineer, William Rockefeller, nodded off because he had an undiagnosed sleep disorder and had a drastic shift in his work schedule. People across the world are remembering blues legend B.B. King today. King died in his sleep. During his career, he played with the likes of Eric Clapton and U2 and performed for President Obama, Pope John Paul II. King won 15 Grammys and performed hundreds of concerts per year.
Good for me when I'm feeling bad, and good for me when I'm feeling good. It's kind of like religious music is to a lot of people.
King was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, but continued to tour into his 80s. He was 89 years old.
Definitely a legend and will be missed. On to this now. New video this morning shows a single mother in Kansas being robbed while in a chokehold. It all unfolded in her apartment after she told a friend she was trying to sell off some of her ex-boyfriend's carpentry tools. That friend turned out to be an accomplice in all this. The thieves took all of her cash, money she saved for college tuition and rent, plus the tools and a safe. Luckily, her nanny cam was rolling. Do you see her right there on the bottom of the screen? Nanny cam was rolling the entire time that the robbers were inside her apartment. Police are now working to ID the suspects involved in this case. Can you believe that?
And hopefully there'll be a break, too, because of the cam. Wow.
That's absolutely terrifying.
I
If
know.
you had to watch the video of yourself.
Never
going
think
through
that's
that
going to
again.
happen, you know?
No. And as the rain showers continue to ramp up, the state is launching a new campaign that will help raise awareness of the dangers of driving into floodwaters. New Mexico Homeland Security, along with Emergency Management and the National Weather Service, have launched that campaign by placing up to 85 signs along roadways that do commonly flood. Now, communities that get the signs are being told to snap a picture of it, then GPS their locations, so that way this can all be added to a statewide database so you can know where to be aware of possible flooding or flood zones if you're going to be driving around.
It is now 6:33, and we're staying on top of a developing story this early hour that you first heard about on the KRQE News app.
Yeah, Albuquerque police are working to piece together how 3 suspicious deaths may be connected together. It's all in this neighborhood. The investigation began as a house fire yesterday afternoon near Comanche and San Mateo. When AFD arrived, they found 2 men dead inside with gunshot wounds. Police say they were a father and son. Neighbors say around 60 and 90 years old. About 45 minutes later, though, they found a woman's body covered in blood in the backyard of another house about 2 miles away. People we spoke with say someone may have tried to set that home on fire.
Previously, I heard sirens, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe they were pulling somebody over on the main street. And then one of the, I think it was like engine 13 or ladder 13 drove by, and you don't really see the big fire trucks drive by. And I was like, oh, well, something happened.
Police have not directly said whether one of the deaths was a suicide, but they're not looking for any suspects at this time.
6:34, there are some new developments in the search for a missing woman this morning. Deputies are now looking for the hiker who may have found Brittany Johnson's car keys. The 24-year-old was last seen Saturday leaving a spa. Search and rescue teams found her red Toyota in the Sandia Mountains on Wednesday. A hiker told a worker at the gift shop that he found those car keys on a nearby trail and then left them on top of the car. Deputies say those keys belong to Johnson. They say they don't suspect foul play, but they are looking for the hiker, hoping that he has more information. The search resumes at 8 o'clock this morning.
We turn now to this. The family of a man who killed himself during a standoff with police is now suing APD. Santiago Chavez barricaded himself inside this home off West Central in June 2012 after neighbors called police saying he was throwing rocks at cars. SWAT surrounded that home, firing flashbangs and more than 150 rounds of tear gas.
It's almost impossible to describe to you the number of weapons, vehicles, and devices that were used to breach Mr. Chavez's home.
Now, when officers ripped down that door, they say 20-year-old Chavez had killed himself. Hernandez's attorney claims the SWAT team never should have been called to the scene in the first place because Chavez was only accused of a misdemeanor. Police did not even witness. APD would not comment on this case. You can read the entire lawsuit on the KRQE News app. We turn now to news out of our nation's capital. The president, along with the rest of the nation, are expected to honor fallen peace officers killed in the line of duty at this year's National Peace Officers Memorial Service. One of our own, you might remember her right there, will be at today's event. Bernalillo County Deputy Robin Hopkins shall take part today. There, she will place a flower on the memorial wreath for those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Among those who will get honored, Rio Rancho officer Anthony Haas, who died in a car crash on the way to a domestic violence call back in October.
Hopkins, by the way, was the deputy who was shot at in October 2013 by Christopher Chase, a man who police say was on a mission to gun down officers. She was left with a shattered leg and a long road to recovery. New this morning, while bullying is still a real problem in the classrooms, a new report suggests it's slowly declining. The survey conducted by the Education Department found that in 2013, 22% of students aged 12 to 18 reported being bullied. That's down 6 percentage points from 2 years earlier and the lowest since they began surveying students in 2005. Bullying has spread from school hallways and restrooms to social media now, and that raises awareness in recent years. How often do you head downtown for happy hour, maybe on a Friday afternoon? The city thinks not nearly often enough.
Yeah, and now the Convention Center's management group is hoping to change all of that with the new food series on Civic Plaza. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is live at Civic Plaza with how it will not only benefit you, but also the restaurants that are going to be involved. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, Abq Food Friday is an opportunity to come and get some beer, food, and listen to live music right here at Civic Plaza. Now, those involved also say that this is a benefit for them too.
To cross promote with their following and our following, it's just going to be a really cool deal.
Leah Black from Marble Brewery says it's a great chance to work with a different local restaurant each week at no cost to them. That's exactly what Abq Food Friday is all about. Starting today, each Friday through the spring and summer, you can get an entree from a local eatery for just $10. It will feature chefs from restaurants like Cafe Bien, Farm and Table, and Moss. Black says a lot of the places are new and others have a following. Either way, this new series will likely bring welcomed exposure to both the brewery and the restaurants.
I think that people oftentimes get in a rut and they kind of go to the same places that they love all the time. So when we can bring different restaurants to them, they can kind of discover new things and realize all the stuff that Albuquerque and beyond has to offer.
Now, this is all weather dependent, so you'll probably want to check before you head out. It starts at 4 and lasts until 8 this evening. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Catherine. Now, after Abq Food Fridays, Civic Plaza Presents will launch their Movies on the Plaza series. Tonight, it's the Lego Movie. It's now 6:38. New this morning, officials in Nepal say they have spotted the wreckage of that missing U.S. Marine helicopter.
3 bodies now have been found at that site. That's according to Nepal's defense secretary. The U.S. Marine chopper disappeared on Tuesday with 6 Marines and 2 Nepalese soldiers on board. No signs of life have been seen from the air. That chopper was delivering aid to earthquake victims when it went down. There were reports of fuel problems before it went missing near Kathmandu.
And meanwhile, here are some facts if you're wanting to give a helping hand to those in Nepal. Representatives serving Himalayan victims through Himster will be collecting items at the Big Daddy Weave concert today. That's at Legacy Church on Central. They'll be collecting unused tents, tarps, and sleeping bags. The group plans to ship those boxes to Colorado, where they will eventually be flown to Nepal.
This is a pretty surprising video that shows a deadly head-on crash between a semi and an ambulance. That video was captured on a surveillance camera at a nearby business. Investigators say the ambulance was stolen by an irate 50-year-old woman at knife point after paramedics were called to a seizure. Witnesses say the driver was going at least 100 miles per hour and driving erratically before that crash happened. The semi-truck driver was 40 years old. Both of them died. Pretty shocking. We've reported